For the month of April, I did not continue my 7-book streak. I actually only read 4 books, but I would say they were all good reads. I think I even have 3 5-stars. I'm pretty like free with my 5 stars, but I think to have 3 is still quite impressive for like my picking skills. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go over my like April wrap up, but also my April pickups, because I read 4 but I also bought 4. So we're doing a lot better than March in the buying department, but a lot worse in the actual reading department. So the first one that I read was The Heaven and Earth Grocery Store by James McBride, and this was 100% like no-brainer a 5-star read for me. I think I've said this before, but I am so much so a character person over a plot person, and this book delivers 100%. First of all, I've talked about this when I hauled it. First of all, it is gorgeous. So the physical appeal of the book is like what called me. This book is about a town in Pennsylvania that is actually made up of a collection of different immigrants, and it has a really, really heavy Jewish and really, really heavy Black population. And so it is about those 2 littler communities joining together to create their own larger community, and how they all kind of like integrate and spin around each other. And then that in its own highlights how horrible and dangerous America actually can be. And this book is written in the past, but it is full of little quips that are just digs at how people act today or what people think today. The author will kind of like pull you out and into the present in these really subtle moments that I am super excited to kind of do a reread, because I think, one, but also this book has so many characters in it that are all very, very built out. I would love to do a reread where I'm not meeting them all, I just get to enjoy them all and kind of catch the intricacies while I know what the relationship is going to be, rather than kind of seeing what I catch on to. But I'm sure that this has been all over the internet, because it has been all over the physical world of the bookstores, so you should get it. The next one I picked up is Ops Room Girls by Vicky Beeby. This reads like a Nancy Drew or like a Hardy Boys kind of like easy mystery. It's about these 3 women who joined the Women's Auxiliary Air Force in World War II, and I kind of, they have similar jobs, and it's about them going forward in their career, choosing that path, and kind of falling in love with it, whether they thought they would or not, you know? For some of them, it's kind of like a dead end. For one of them, it's a rush decision, and for the other one, she just truly wants to be there. You can see that all 3 women of this story are pictured on the cover, and I, for the life of me, this entire book kept flipping back to this cover to try to figure out who was who, because I just kind of didn't agree with it. But then you'd get a descriptor of like who had red hair or who was really tall, and you'd be like, well, that one must be Jess, or that one like over and over again. I could not keep it straight, and I wish they weren't on the cover, because I could have just read this book and enjoyed building the characters in my own head. But having the 3 like cover models on here, wild choice. Wild choice. I kind of hoped that this would read like a little bit A League of Their Own-ish, and it does, but it's very innocent, very light, and like I said, it just kind of introduces an element of mystery that feels very Nancy Drew, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I don't know if you can see in the shot, but I do have, like, I like those books. I don't know that I will continue on with this series though, because the next book seems Christmas specific, and I am not about that, even if it were to be Christmas time. Ops Room Girls did not deliver in the League of Their Own department. I picked up Flood Girls by Richard Fifield, which is blurbed on the back to be with the caustic wit of Where'd You Go, Bernadette, and in the spirit of A League of Their Own. Richard Fifield's sardonic, courageous, and heartwarming debut will leave you laughing through tears. So I thought that maybe this would deliver, and it did, because it is about a small town in Montana with less than 1,000 people living in it. So everybody has their very much defined and expected roles, depending upon like what establishment they're connected to or who their family members are. The main character is a girl who grew up there. She escapes that world. She goes to the bigger city of Missoula, and then she ends up back in her small town to kind of make amends and sort out the wrongs that she's feeling guilty for before she thinks she can move on with the rest of her life. Her mom happens to be the bar owner and the like head of the town softball league, and then she ends up moving in to the trailer next to this very loud and different and flamboyant boy who is breaking all of the molds for everything that this town thinks they can handle. And it is about their friendship despite their age difference, and like I said, the roles people play in small towns and how you kind of are expected to fall into a box there, and if you don't, people do not know what to do with you. Everybody is so built out that I don't necessarily feel like there's one particular main character, even though there is. It's Rachel, the girl who returns from the big city. I think you should know that this one is sad. Like, this one will break your heart, and I didn't really quite realize that until I had the sneaking suspicion about 10 pages before it all went down. So be warned, this one is emotional, but I don't think you would get those vibes when you look at the cover or read the back or even go like halfway through the book. This is just my warning. This was truly just like a random find in a used bookstore a while ago, and it was a huge win. This was another 5-star read for me. And then the last book that I read in April, which I actually just finished in the nick of time, it was my book club pick for my friends, and that is Such a Fun Age by Kiley Reid. I picked this one up in my local used bookstore because I really trust the blurbs that the staff leaves on things, and this was on an end cap, basically like, you'll love it, and I was like, I trust you. And I did. I trust them. I continue to trust them. I really, 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 really liked this book. It is about a young girl who... Actually, she's not that young. She's an adult. She's 25, I think. She is a sitter for a white family, and she is a black girl, and they live in Philly. And the family has an emergency. They call her to come take the toddler and just get out of the house for a little bit, but it's late at night. So she takes the kid to the grocery store, and they're just killing time. And then she is accused of kidnapping this kid, and they do not believe her at the store that she is the babysitter or the nanny for this young white child. You really have a main character here that you are rooting for from the beginning through the end, but I want more. Like, I want to know how Amira is doing now. So I would 100% recommend. I also think that this was a phenomenal choice to be a book club book because there are so many different things that people can pull from it and that will stand out to one another, and I think there are great conversations to be had about like what you notice as you read. This was also a very fast read. It is like just over 300 pages, but it flew by, and I think that is also a great requirement of a book club book is if it drags for anybody, I think you kind of lose them if they didn't pick the book. And I do want to mention too that the 2-3-year-old kid that your main character Amira is babysitting throughout this book has so much personality. This kid is like comedic relief, and I don't know how Kiley Reid wrote a toddler so well, but I also am very invested in the toddler, and she comes in at the perfect times and she has the funniest lines, and it is just another 5-star read. This book is physically perfect. It is like wiggly and amazing. So what I'm gonna start my next month, May, off with is Bridget Jones's Diary, which I mentioned when I hauled this that I have actually no idea what this is. I just know it's something that I'm supposed to know what it is. Who would have thought? Okay. Now onto the things that I have hauled. Firstly, half of these books, there are 4, 2 of them came from Costco, because whenever I go to Costco, I just come home with a book. And the first one is A Little Life. I have seen this everywhere. I have just heard that it is really sad and it is gonna make me cry. This cover is also just very sad. I don't know when I will be in the mood for something like this. I felt like I was just walking past it over and over and over and over again. And of course, I was in Costco and I had to come home with a book, and they had it, so I said, okay, it's time, you're coming home with me. I'm not sure when I will get to this because I do have a very lengthy TBR, but the whole world seems to be reading this right now, and I'm next. The next one is How to Sell a Haunted House. This I've actually heard like mixed things from. I have a friend who wanted to love it, and maybe that's what got in the way of them truly loving it, but they said it was good. Maybe my current like habit of hanging out on Zillow is what has me interested in this one right now, but I saw it and I figured I'd grab it because it just was calling my name. And then the next one is kind of an odd one. That is The President's Wife by Tracy Enerson Wood. And I read at the beginning of the year The First Ladies, which is about Eleanor Roosevelt and Mary McLeod Bethune, and it was so good. And it is a historical fiction, obviously, about a president's wife, and that's what this is. This follows Woodrow Wilson's wife at like World War I. The supporting roles in politics are very interesting because these people are just trying to live their life, and then who knows what else is going on. All of the information that we know and think we know, and like what liberties people take when they explore fictionalized versions of these real people, that were very much in spotlight at different times of us being able to capture that, I think is very, very interesting. I also, as a kid, grew up with like a horrible like history education. Like I truly don't know much. And so reading historical fiction and stuff like this has kind of really helped me in my awareness of when things happened and when things took place and what kind of domino effects played out, because I truly just like did not receive that in my education growing up. I would never pick it by the cover, but it really was the title. I was like, that seems like something that I've been looking for. So I haven't seen anybody read this. I have no idea what to expect. And then the last one makes me a little bit sad. Just a metric ton of people on TikTok, including myself, have been obsessed with Terrence the Octopus, who actually just passed away, and it was very sad. We knew it was coming. I keep seeing remarkably bright creatures around, and first of all, it's gorgeous. Second of all, I apparently have a newfound interest in octopi, and this is about a woman who kind of forms a relationship with an octopus that finds its way into her life, and that is really all I know about it. It has a badge on it that says Read with Jenna and then like hashtag Read with Jenna, and maybe it's Good Morning America. Is that what that logo is? I don't know. I don't know what book club badge this is, and I really don't know. Like it, but it's giving the same vibe as Reese's Book Club, but it is not an award badge and it is not a movie sticker badge, so it falls in that weird gray area of not great and not the worst, but it does fit well with this cover. 4 books read, 4 books hauled, and I have my beautiful new shelves to fill up, and I just think that I slowed down, but I spent so much brain space on reading because my April was full of organizing my books and dreaming about my setup finally existing and taking my time with the things I was reading. And I think I reaped the benefits because I did pick 3 out of 4 books, ended up being 5-star reads. So that's my April. I guess I will see you in May.